Trump versus Musk. What's going on this time? This is a blow to global logistics. Today, we'll break down key global events and how they might impact the cryptocurrency market, as well as Elon Musk's new batch, tariffs on electric cars, and copper. And most importantly, how all of these will be reflected in the cryptocurrency market. Let's get started. Today, at the time of recording this video, the rate is $119,000 for one Bitcoin. And now let's see who came closest to predicting the Bitcoin price. Cult of Devils, 6 hours ago, comment number 119,000. No one gave a more accurate price, although Alexander Usov was very close. But this one is spot on, right to the mark. Congratulations, Cult of Devils. Please contact our support and claim your 50 USDT price. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you for watching us. Keep leaving your comments. Perhaps you will be the next lucky winner. And once again, it's Trump versus Musk. What is it this time? A new party that Elon Musk has decided to create. On the 7th of July, Elon Musk announced the creation of a new party called the American Party. The creation of this party is a response to Donald Trump, who is pushing for a new format of tax reform and increasing import tariffs. Elon Musk, of course, is against this and says directly, if the government destroys innovation, it needs to be changed. Following Elon Musk's high-profile statement, Tesla shares dropped by 7%. Naturally, investors are on edge, wondering what Elon Musk is up to this time. And as usual, Musk is caught between politics and business. So how is this good for the cryptocurrency market? The more pressure is put on other markets, the more interest there is in alternative options. And of course, that means Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB. And naturally, traditional gold and safe haven currencies as well. Electric vehicles are under fire. The EU and the US have imposed tariffs. Starting from July 2025, the European Union will impose a 45% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. And the US followed suit by increasing tariffs, an additional 25% on auto parts, and an extra 30% on electric vehicles from China. And there are even tariffs on countries like Mexico, Japan, and South Korea. This is a blow to global logistics. In response, Tesla is ramping up sales of its cars in India. The Tesla Model Y, priced at $70,000, is already available on the Indian market, and it is expanding its supercharger network in the Asian market. At the same time, they have also started rolling out robotaxis in the US, which could help Tesla's stock recover quickly. Conclusion: the automotive industry is becoming a geopolitical battleground. And, as always, it's the consumer who suffers. But at the same time, demand for fast transactions is growing, and for cheap ones. And cryptocurrency, of course, is a great alternative. Well, that's already part of the future. In fact, this is a very good sign, because I learned about cryptocurrency from my acquaintances who themselves had found out about it a few years before me. But in a very interesting way. At one time, they were working with China and found a way to transfer transactions, to send money through third-party services, right? It was expensive to transfer money through the banking system. You know very well how the banking system works, how they love to require payment confirmations, impose transaction fees, process payments slowly, and so on. And at one point, he found such a payment method his partners suggested it to him like Bitcoin. At that time, he didn't know that Bitcoin could rise and fall in value. He thought it was worth about $300, maybe a little less, and that this was a fixed rate. But once he deposited a certain amount of money into his cryptocurrency wallet and wanted to make a transaction after his trip. He went on a trip for a couple of weeks. When he came back, the price of Bitcoin had increased several times over. And then he started to look into what cryptocurrency actually is. When, figuratively speaking, his $150,000 turned into more than $300,000. So what's happening is a very positive sign. And next, we'll analyze the charts to see whether that's really the case or not. Copper prices. At first glance, what does blockchain have to do with copper? But here, everything is interconnected. Copper tariffs are a blow to blockchain and batteries for electric vehicles. Starting from the 1st of August 2025, the United States of America will impose a 50% tariff on copper. Why is this important? Copper is the lifeblood of electricity, batteries for electric vehicles, data centers, cryptocurrency mining, and of course wiring, chips, cables, and so on. An increase in copper prices means higher production costs, and as a result, mining becomes more expensive. And electric vehicles become more expensive too. The pace of infrastructure implementation slows down significantly. The bottom line, if copper becomes more expensive, people will look for alternative decentralized solutions to replace traditional proof of stake mining. That's why we're keeping a close eye on Ethereum. So how does all these affect the cryptocurrency markets? Geopolitical changes lead to increased interest in decentralization. Electric vehicles are slowing down, which means more attention is being paid to autonomous logistics and tokenized energy. Copper is getting more expensive. It becomes more profitable to use proof of stake and decentralized cloud solutions instead of traditional mining. Musk is back in the game, and that means a trend towards AI, techno-anarchism, and freedom of capital. In summary, this week has shown that crypto is no longer just some asset that gets little attention, but rather the foundation of technological independence. And now, let's move on to looking at the charts. Damn, that's an easy word. Why can't I remember it? Oh, come on. All right. I'll definitely say it right this time. And we'd love to read what you, how are you doing over there? What about you? Tell us about it. So let's move on to reviewing the charts. Let's start by looking at the higher time frames. We'll take a look now and update the information what's going on with the 3-month time frame. And here, overall, the dynamics are quite positive. So, as I mentioned in previous videos, yes, that was the week before last we closed the 3-month or quarterly bar above $100,000 and entered a Fibonacci price movement range from 1.618 to 2.618. Accordingly, this is the corridor in which the market should move during this quarter. Moreover, I warned that this summer would look different from previous summer periods, since everyone has basically gotten used to the idea that summer is a time for dumps, declines, and everything crashing. That is, you can analyze all the previous years, the previous summer months, and see what happened during the summer. But this time we are seeing a positive signal for growth. So let's look at the monthly time frame. On the monthly time frame, we also have a close above. So right now, as long as Bitcoin's price stays above $100,000, the movement is being pulled like a magnet toward the area of 153 to possibly $155,000 per Bitcoin. Accordingly, this corridor is quite wide right now, just like the previous one, right? From about 68, 70,000 up to a full $100,000. Again, let me remind you what I focus on in my analysis. First and foremost, I pay attention to the levels. Levels are the main indicator. Of course, the trend also comes first. Yes, trend is your friend that is the most important thing. And then, of course, we base everything off the levels. And levels also play a key role. In fact, I would even say they probably compete with each other for first place. But of course, here we pay attention to the level. Everything below $100,000 is drawn like a magnet to around $68,000 to $70,000. Everything above $100,000 means a move toward up to $155,000. A pause is possible here. For now, we could see a very rapid move to the $155,000 zone, and only here might there be some consolidation or a breakout above this level, right? And then, accordingly, a further move up to $200,000. So, I see the peaks of this growth somewhere around the $240,000 to $250,000 zone possibly. Although, according to Fibonacci, again, Bitcoin might not even reach $250,000. So, but $200,000 is more than expected. If we take into account the news background that we just discussed, right? And we understand that proof of stake is becoming more profitable than traditional mining, so we can already project this onto the chart and see that there will be price movement. Let's say, for example, up to 200, well, up to the peak value, but that's a very small chance. Usually the chart doesn't reach the peak, it then goes into a correction, and only after that sets new highs. So here we can see about 100% growth, but Ethereum already uses proof of stake. So now we're going to move on to looking at Ethereum and see what the chart shows there. Basically, that's all I have for Bitcoin. Please share in the comments if our analysis is helpful to you and if you're able to use the levels we show in our videos as a reference. It will be interesting to read your thoughts. So Ethereum, On the 3-month time frame, we've established a solid level. There were purchases here, large buybacks. And right now, Ethereum is feeling very, very strong. In addition, if we consider proof of stake, the news background, copper prices are rising and the Americans are going to impose tariffs on copper. Accordingly, demand will increase. So mining Bitcoin will also become more difficult and less profitable. As a result, more investors will end up moving into Ethereum. Well, honestly, all of this was clear even without the media. In reality, they're just pushing news to fit the narrative. Well, they are putting pressure, aren't they? But in fact, all of this was planned in advance. If you know how to read charts, the monthly time frame also looks positive for us. Here, this was the monthly close. I mentioned that this was a squeeze at this level, and usually after that there's a further move upward, where basically we can see a good breakout. So the next resistance here is around $3,330, $3,350, and right after that we have a descending trend line at about $3,600. A breakout above it and the move, especially past $4,000, would lead to a rally to 4,800, around 5,000, and the next levels are 7,200, about 11,300, 15,000, and possibly even if these are just peaks, possibly even around $18,000 per Ethereum, and this could already happen this year. So the growth potential here, even from current levels, is about 4 to 5 times. And that's just in dollar terms. If you're multiplying Ethereum in our fund, or if you're multiplying Bitcoin, then even if you're just multiplying Ethereum, the growth potential in dollar terms is at least 6, possibly even 8 times, in my opinion. So $10,000 turns into $60 or even $80,000. Of course, the last time we saw such high returns was back in 2021. At that time, our investors, just from the growth of these assets alone, were seeing returns of about 50, 60, even 70% per year without compounding. Ethereum, Bitcoin. And of course, when an asset gives you 40 times your investment and then it grows even more, those are just insane returns. I feel like something similar to what happened in 2021 is happening again. Back when there was a huge surge, our investors made 40, 60, even 80 times their capital in dollar terms. It was an enormous growth. Of course, the cryptocurrency market right now doesn't deliver such huge returns in such a short period, but over time, it definitely will. And of course, based on many years of experience, we see that investors who invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or BNB, who actively accumulate them and play the long game, so to speak, always outperform by many times those investors who invest in USDT. You can simply do the analysis yourself, look at the calculations, and see this for yourself. Of course, investing in USDT means you can access your money more quickly, right? You might not want to spend your crypto, but when you accumulate it and do so consciously and thoughtfully, you earn absolutely incredible returns. And yes, this is the opportunity that the cryptocurrency market gives us. So pay attention to this. If you're not yet accumulating Ethereum, Bitcoin, or BNB, I recommend you start. USDT won't give you extraordinary returns. Now let's take a look at Ethereum to Bitcoin. And Ethereum to Bitcoin also looks positive for us. We can see that here, basically, there was a touch of the previous bottom, the bottom level. This goes back to 2019. We successfully tested it, and now the market is rebounding. There was maximum oversold here. Now we've broken through the purple line and the green line from below upwards, and this is also a positive sign from the perspective of indicators and technical analysis. Here we're running into a level, but it will be broken through very quickly. Here the green line acts as support and will continue to push even higher. That's why, in my opinion, Ethereum is in for simply tremendous growth. In the near future, Ethereum will outpace Bitcoin by 60 to 70% in growth potential. Ethereum has fallen enough already, as they say, right? It's been going on for quite some time. It's time to change the trend. There you go. That's why, among the major assets, Ethereum is personally my favorite. And of course, let's see what BNB has to say. So, on the monthly time frame, BNB also looks positive. Very, very positive, I would say. Let me remind you, the accumulation here has been going on since 2021. I consider this to be accumulation. Personally, for me, this period is a key factor. You know, that we had such a large trading range. A trading range that could easily send the price up to $2,000 for BNB. why do I say $2,000 for BNB? First of all, we have a formation here on the monthly time frame, which is a key factor. Those of you who have taken our training know very well how many different patterns we've analyzed, shown you, and explained that the higher the time frame, the more significant it is. And on the monthly time frame, we are seeing the formation of a bullish flag. Monthly time frame. Yes, this is the monthly time frame. So this is a very strong signal. There you go. And the target is set by the height of the flagpole. The height of the flagpole is like this. And the breakout happens roughly here, right? So yes, it's drawn exactly like this. Accordingly, we have a peak value here. It's just perfect. Right here is the most ideal point. How can it be this perfect, right? And on top of that, we also add Fibonacci. So here we have different types of analysis. And both of them indicate that the peak value will be around 2,378 or about 2,350 USDT per 1 BNB. I believe that's exactly what will happen. Even if it doesn't reach the absolute peak, at the very least, getting to the 2,000 USDT per 1 Binance coin zone is totally easy. So that's my perspective on this matter. Of course, the situation could change. I always leave a small chance for that, but it's really a tiny percentage based on the current picture, maybe 5 or 10% that things could change. It could change, but the chance is very small. When could it change? We keep an eye on the level. If there is a move and consolidation on the weekly or monthly time frame above 580 USDT for Binance coin, then of course Binance coin could start dropping to around 340 or 350 USDT. But again, all of these would just be a significant opportunity to buy in again, and indeed to buy in twice as much, because the underlying asset will undoubtedly keep moving up anyway. These are basically my comprehensive thoughts on Binance coin. Now let's take a look at Solana as well. I'd like to analyze it. The market is currently showing good positive momentum. Here we can see a divergence. The divergence is on the monthly time frame, which is also significant since it's the monthly time frame. And we have a move beyond the linear, beyond the support line, which is now acting as a resistance line. Of course, the current resistance line can be tested, and Solana could reach up to around 200 USDT per coin. And if it manages to break out and consolidate at least above 180 or ideally above 200 USDT per Solana, then Solana also has great growth potential, a significant potential to rise up to $1,000 per coin. But if the situation remains unstable and there is no breakout, then ideally Solana should drop down to its 80 USDT level. And for now, in my opinion, I still tend to believe that Solana will be testing its approximately $80 mark. But again, this is just a probability theory, right? So we should focus more on how the levels react, how they perform, and of course make decisions in the moment. The key level is $200, right? And after that, there could be a real takeoff. There's positive momentum in the market, so of course, this pattern might not play out completely. Maybe this drop was already enough, right? So what was the drop approximately? About 50%, probably around 40%. And in the rising market, in the bull market, that might actually be enough. So from a technical analysis perspective, it would make sense to go down. But since the market still has a bullish sentiment, this scenario might not play out, and Solana could keep shooting upward. Well, let's also take a look at Solana to Bitcoin. Solana to Bitcoin has basically played out the drop for now, but again, it's still hard to say anything definitive. The picture seems bleak, but there's a level, and it hasn't been breached yet, right? So if Solana to Bitcoin does end up dropping below 0.0128, right? If it closes below that level with the candle body, then Solana is in for further decline, as I mentioned. If Solana doesn't fall below that value and instead moves higher, especially if it breaks above 0.0016, then Solana will keep surging upward and will offset the move it was expected to make. And that would mean it's outpacing Bitcoin again. So based on all indications, these top assets are showing that it's possible. It's possible, right? Altseason is already starting. That's a very good sign. What do you think? Is Altseason starting? Is it already underway? Has it already ended? Or will it not happen at all? In my opinion, it's exactly as I said. I'm interested to read what you have to say. Give a thumbs up and leave your comments. We'll be happy to read them. Thank you for your attention. See you next time. Bye.